The headline says it all. From Newsweek, couple assaulted outside liquor store over suspected Bud Light purchase. That's right. Bud Light has become such a toxic brand that people have been physically attacked for buying it. Well, I want to get into this, explain to you what's going on with the nuance of the Anheuser-Busch failure. But we do have big news. Bud Light sales continue to worsen. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an update. New sales data has come in, and yes, sales of Bud Light continue to drop. We won. That's it. I'm like, we won. Congratulations, everybody. It's been over a month. There's a journalist. We have this, not here. Where do we have here? Here we go. Megan McArdle, not the libertarian one, a columnist at the Washington Post, wrote about Dylan Mulvaney and the boycott, saying, for conservatives, Dylan Mulvaney should be a role model. Now writing a new thread saying, I was wrong. It has been over a month, and this boycott is not backing down. Congratulations, everybody. This is how you win a culture war. First, let's take a look at KSDK 5 on your side. Sales have worsened amid controversy around Bud Light's partnership with Dylan Mulvaney. Bud Light sales continue to worsen for the week ended April 29th, Nielsen IQ data showed. The country's number one selling beer brand saw in-store sales of $71.6 million that week, off 23.4. Now, according to the same data, it was minus 21%. As the story persists, sales keep getting worse. Good. Anheuser-Busch could have come out immediately and said, we're so sorry about this. We did not know how divisive Dylan Mulvaney was, and we will not sponsor an individual like this in the future. They didn't, though. They decided that you were too stupid. Yeah. And this, you hear me getting angry about this one. I'll tell you why. Because I will tell you, in my opinion, having been in these meetings, I am not exaggerating when I say that I believe the executives are sitting around and one guy goes, so what do we do about this? People are pissed. They go, ignore them. They're morons. You give it a week, they'll forget all about it. I have been in meetings where they have said just this stuff. People are stupid. They'll forget in 2 seconds. Can we do something else that generates attention, that distracts the people? They're not smart enough to articulate why they're upset in the first place. Okay. Well, I'll tell you this. I don't care. Bud Light is now a damaged brand. Who's going to want to associate with it? Take a look at this story. I think we have this one. What do we have? Here we go. Red Sox fans snub Bud Light at Fenway Park in viral video. Their concession stands are a ghost town. Down 23%. Nobody wants to buy your beer. You want to know why? I'll tell you why. Take a look at this tweet from this feller, Joseph, aestheticist on Twitter. He says, this is the first time I've seen a boycott actually work. 26% drop in sales. It's a different data metric. That's why it's a different number. Usually boycotts don't move the needle at all. I think maybe beer drinkers aren't really boycotting. They just don't want to be perceived as effeminate, gay, bad branding. Yep. Yes, I completely agree, sir. He says this is more the issue than the politics of it, I think. There are a lot of YouTube videos that are more crass jokes about Bud Light drinkers than political statements. And he links to an article from the Babylon Bee, which says, bros drinking Cosmos laugh at friend ordering Bud Light. Yep. That's it right there. Why would a couple be assaulted outside a liquor store over a suspected Bud Light purchase? Well, I don't really believe the story. I got to be honest. It's probably something else. They like to lie about this stuff. But it could just be because in this instance, it is seen as being spat on, supporting a company like Bud Light. Now, the story's eyeball catching. I don't think it's legitimate. Here's what they say. A couple was reportedly assaulted outside of a liquor store after being confronted by a group of men over their suspected purchase of Bud Light. The incident took place on Saturday night in the city of Vaughan, Ontario, a suburb of Toronto. York Regional Police said in an official statement that a couple was accosted by a group of 3 men after leaving a liquor store, blah, blah, blah. You know what really happened? They say allegedly they targeted the man for purchasing Bud Light and using various homophobic slurs. This actually sounds like an attempt to counter the narrative and make those boycotting Bud Light look bad. Now, I'll tell you what likely really happened. Some people had words with each other in a liquor store, and then the other person made fun of them for buying Bud Light as a passing thing, and the media tries to make that the story. When one of the men approached the male victim, the female victim tried to step between them, and there you go. Some guy probably bought Bud Light. The other guy probably joked and said, "Oh, you're buying that stuff." And the other guy said, "Screw you." And they had words, and the words are the real reason they fought. I want to show you this Twitter thread from Megan McArdle. She says, "I wrote about the Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light fracas a few weeks ago, but I confess I'm surprised how durable the backlash has proven. A month in, sales still seem to be down about 20%. And oh boy, they're getting worse." At 10:42 a.m., she wrote this. And then we have, what time was this story released? Early in the morning. So she may be referencing the latest data that sales are now down 23.4%. She said, "A point that I originally made but cut for space is that Mulvaney was simply a very odd choice by marketing executives. Not because she's trans, but because her wacky Audrey Hepburn persona doesn't fit any plausible target demographic." Yeah, it's nails on a chalkboard. "That choice became somewhat more explicable when I listened to the infamous podcast where the VP oversaw the brand. Contrary to popular belief, nothing she said was about Mulvaney, but what she did say suggested a rather strong dislike of her current customer base." Yes, we've all known that. She wasn't talking about Mulvaney. She was talking about why ultimately you end up with someone like Mulvaney. Like, her motivations for hiring Mulvaney were revealed in that podcast. She says, "In fairness, that customer base is shrinking. The brand is in long-term decline thanks to competition from craft beers on one side, hard seltzers on the other, and hard seltzers and beer alternatives on the other. Of course, they want to bring in some new blood. In the classic four-quadrant model of the Boston Consulting Group, Bud Light is a cash cow. High cash flow, low growth. You milk that cow for what it's worth, but you don't invest in it. But that's hard advice to take if you're the VP of that brand. You want to make it bigger. It doesn't do her career any good if the cash from a declining brand provided a lot of funding for Anheuser-Busch's new craft or alternative brands. She wanted to make it grow, so naturally she's looking to do brand expansion. But danger, Will Robinson, major brand expansions are risky because you can alienate your existing customer base." We get it. She says, for example, take a look at Liz Claiborne's disastrous decision to do a deal with JCPenney. Which brings us back to Bud Light and Dylan Mulvaney. Yes, Dylan Mulvaney reaches a target market that doesn't drink a lot of Bud Light. As far as I can tell, a lot of her followers are under the age of 21. Others are in their 50s and have graduated to wine. The overwhelming majority of people on TikTok are under 21. That's the average age. Dylan Mulvaney's audience, I believe, is younger than that, although there are probably some wine moms there as well. They're obviously mostly progressive, also female. Under what circumstances is this group going to reach for a mass market light lager rather than a craft beer, a smaller brand, or hard seltzer with the same calories? Women on average prefer things sweet. Ladies and gentlemen, it's simple. Women, they're going to be drinking a wine cooler or whatever, a Zima or a Bacardi or, what is it? What do people drink? I don't know. Hard seltzer, White Claw. No calories. It's got booze in it. If you want to drink carbonated water with alcohol, White Claw is readily available. Why would a woman be like, "I'll have the beer"? That's just not target market. So they took something that men buy and then took the most grating and insulting personality, smacked their audience in the face, and then refused to apologize. McArdle says, "Making Mulvaney a face of a light lager brand seems like the kind of thing you do to impress other marketing pros, not like the kind of thing you do to actually grow your customer base. And in fairness, maybe that's an impossible task, so why not at least impress your friends? Because it burns your company to the ground, and it's still getting worse to this day." She says, "If I was a marketing executive right now, I would personally be sitting my young staff down to make sure they understand that what we do here is about the brand, not what you personally think is important or cool." Yes, indeed. Because you know what it is? Why is it that at Fenway Park, nobody's buying from the Bud Light concession stand? Men don't want to look gay. That's it right there. And I'm not saying to disparage gay people. I'm saying the average guy wants to be seen as tough, not gay. And if Bud Light is the brand of being gay, then men are going to choose something else because they don't want to be seen as gay. And then what likely happens now is, it's not even about Dylan Mulvaney. It's about someone walks up to the Bud Light concession stand and then someone else starts laughing and they're like, "Hey, look at this guy. The only guy buying a Bud Light, the gay beer." And the guy's like, "Oh, no, I was just looking." And then they walk away. I went to an event where they didn't even put the Bud Light out. They had it. They didn't put it out. They're like, well, because they're embarrassed. They're embarrassed. They don't want people looking to be like, what do you have Bud Light for? No, we don't want to sell that. We don't want it. So this is just a short update, I suppose. Big news because we knew this when we saw that the sales data, sales were getting bad for Anheuser-Busch. But yesterday and the day before, past week, sales data wrapped April 15th. April 29th is the latest data. We're still about a week and a half out. What do you think next Monday's going to say? It's going to be worse. Because the more this persists, the more videos emerge, the more people are like, oh, I don't drink Bud Light. Congratulations, Bud Light. You turned your everyman beer into the craft, I don't even want to say craft, but the small batch gay pride beer. Something like that. You make on a special run, and you call it like Pride beer, and you make only a few thousand cases and sell them for 1 month. But Bud Light, the biggest beer in the world, I believe, is now officially the gay beer. There's a viral video of the cast of the Book of Mormon being like, we love you, Dylan, and they're drinking Bud Light. They're like, yay, Bud Light. And it's like, that's the last thing Bud Light needed. These people think they're helping Bud Light. They made it worse by literally doing the effeminate, yay, musicals, drink Bud Light. And that's exactly what's hurting the brand. Dudes watching football do not want to be seen as theater bro, effeminate gay men. I am not trying to disparage anybody. I am just outright saying there are two kinds of people in this scenario. The beer-bellied football guy who's like, I bet I could beat you in an arm wrestle, drinking a beer. And the other guy who's like, Book of Mormon. And do you think the guy who wants to prove he can win an arm wrestling match against you wants to be seen as that guy? He doesn't. I'm sure a lot of people don't care. That's why sales are only down 24% or 23.4%. But it's still bad. And more of these stories are coming out. It's going to get worse. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.